We've got Dan Patrick, the Texas Lieutenant Governor. I don't know if he's into color coding here and has a magic marker collection. Don't ask, Governor. It's a long story, and it gets kind of complicated. But what is going on with your candidate, Senator Cruz, and now Donald Trump on this, what did you say about my wife thing? No, I'm going to say something about your wife. What is going on here? Do you know?
You know, I don't, Neil, and I try to stay away from those issues. By the way, you're really racking up the overtime, Neil, between 5 hours a day. This campaign continues to go on to the convention. You know, when I was with you on Friday on your show, I mentioned about how I believe Ted Cruz will win this, either with 1237 before, but surely at the convention. And there was an article today, I believe it was the Wall Street Journal, that laid out what you and I talked about, and that is when you get to the convention, Ted Cruz will have a significant number of delegates committed to him. And I think on the second ballot, if we do go to a contested convention, I think Ted will win it on the second ballot. He's working very hard, as the Journal said, and as I knew, working very hard to get delegates in every state.
Right, but what came up in that same piece, and I want to bring the others into this, is that the Trump folks won't be happy with that because they came in with far more delegates than your guy, and your guy, they see it, is trying to steal it from him.
Well, remember when we were on, what I talked about last week, I said I would fight to be sure that no one other than Cruz or Trump got the nomination.
Right, I remember that.
And I think that if the Trump people see it fairly contested in the convention with delegates on the floor of fellow citizens, and if Cruz beats him on the floor, then I think the Trump people won't be happy, but they will accept Cruz. He's their second choice in their polling. Just as well, if the Cruz people won't be happy if Trump wins, but Trump is their second choice. So I think as long as it's not someone floated in by the party or the establishment, whoever that is anymore, because it really doesn't exist in reality with voters. There is no establishment vote more than 10%. I think that both of those groups will come together and support the other. I've said on this show, if Cruz doesn't get it, and Ted has said, we'll support Donald Trump because we must beat Hillary Clinton. But it will come down to those two, and I just think that the Cruz campaign all along has had a better ground game, and we've seen it everywhere, and he understands how to get delegates to the convention, to the state convention, which we began Saturday in Texas. I was all over the state talking to delegations because we'll send 10,000 people to Dallas in May, and then we'll select our delegates from there to Cleveland and Ohio. And the Cruz campaign is geared up for that. I don't think the Trump campaign is. They're running a different kind of campaign. They've been successful.
Lieutenant Governor, aren't you getting a little bit ahead of yourself? Because we've got these contests tonight. Ted Cruz needs to win more than 50% of the vote in Utah. Otherwise, the Stop Trump movement is, well, it takes a huge hit, number one. Number two, Arizona, Ted Cruz has repeatedly said that Trump is a weak candidate because he can't garner more than 40% of the vote. He hasn't gotten half the vote in any of these states, which is true. But in Arizona, where John Kasich has not been very present, you're finally getting what is pretty close to being a head-to-head matchup between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump. And if he can't even come close to Donald Trump in Arizona, another blow to the Cruz campaign.
Well, look, there have been places that Donald Trump hasn't come close to Ted Cruz. I don't think he'll come close to him in Utah tonight. Look, the truth is it's going to be very hard for both candidates to get to 1237 before the election. One of the two may do it, but when I was with all of you back in South Carolina last month, I remember Lou and Neil, we were talking about this. I said it would be a two-man race. It was a two-man race, and we won't really see the results of that until the next set of primaries, because we still, as you mentioned a few moments ago, we still have the Rubio factor in the early vote and others in the early vote as we had in Texas.
What happens if it goes to a convention? And this is, it seemed 2 days ago was a long time in this election cycle, but a couple of days ago there was talk about an open convention and whether the former governor of your great state, Rick Perry, would be floated in. Have you either talked to Rick Perry about the possibility of that or talked to anybody about the possibility of that happening?
Well, I've actually, the former governor, and I talked today about this campaign. Look, he's all in for Ted Cruz.
But did you talk at all about the possibility of him coming in if it's an open convention?
I never share private conversations with governors, but let me just simply say this.
Fine, we're friends.
Yes, let me just say this. He is all in for Ted, and I think that Rick Perry knows, as Mike Huckabee said on your show last week, Neil, all of these other candidates know who didn't make the final two in this tournament. They know that there would be a great dissatisfaction and a tearing apart of the party if it's anyone other than Cruz or Trump. And I think they'll respect that. And in fact, I think they would say, no, I don't want to be put in that position.
Yeah.
Those two candidates will work it out. Now, look, they may work it out before they may be able to make a deal with Kasich if Trump already hasn't made a deal. One of the questions you have to ask yourself is, why is Kasich still in the race? Is he doing this simply to be sure he's secured a vice presidential spot with Trump? Because it makes no sense for Kasich to be in the race.
Well,